Hello and welcome to a new Vanguard Zero video. So today we're going to be taking a look at a budget Angel Feather deck profile. So we're going to be taking a look at the deck list and the cards you'll be using and the strategy you'll be implementing and all that other stuff. And then we'll be taking it into a card fight to see how it fares and how it plays in action to give you a better feel for it. So before we go any further, I want to mention that this is a budget Angel Feather deck. So this isn't the best Angel Feather deck you can build, but it's also one of the cheapest ones, right? It's gonna be fairly successful. It's hopefully gonna score you some pretty good wins. It has an actual strategy and win condition tied to it. And it doesn't have any triple res at all, which is what I qualify as a budget deck. Because, well, yeah, triple rares are expensive, and so if you just get rid of them entirely, then you are left with a pretty budget deck in comparison. So let's get into it and take a look at this deck I've built. So first of all, if you're building and running budget Angel Feathers, then you are going to be relying on Ergodiel's Ride Chain. See, Ergodiel is a really good card, and the more budget you're going with Angel Feathers at this moment in time, the heavier you're going to rely on its Ride Chain. So here is Ergodiel, Cosmo Healer, Ergodiel. Now, this card has a Ride Chain associated with it, as I mentioned, and for successfully completing that Ride Chain, you get 1000 power, so that's really good. But then you also get the skill that when this unit attacks and hits the Vanguard, you can Counterblast 2 and Persona Blast to heal, just straight up, which is crazy. That's a really good ability to have. And this is going to be the card you're kind of focusing on. This is the card you really want to get out on the field as soon as you can get a grade 3 out. And the rest of the deck is kind of working around this card and the strategies associated with it. So this is the starter Vanguard we're using. So before we actually talk about that starter Vanguard, we will mention this other one because this is the one a lot of other people are running. And it's great. It's a recycling heal, basically. It means that you get more heal triggers, one extra heal trigger, in fact, in your deck, which is great, right? But as I mentioned with budget Angel Feathers, you want to be relying on the Ride Chain, and this makes that easier. So if you can ride a heavily injector on top of it, you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck and add either the grade 2 or the grade 3 Ergodiel from those 7 into your hand, making the Ride Chain so much easier to achieve. All you need is Heavenly Injector in your hand when you're starting the game, and you're basically guaranteed the Ride Chain if you can do that. Like, almost every time I've played this deck, I've been able to successfully pull off the Ride Chain with relative ease, and there's only been a couple games where I haven't pulled it off, and I've still been able to save it anyway by getting back on track with the grade 2 Ergodiel and the grade 3 Ergodiel anyway. The only thing you lose by not successfully pulling off the Ride Chain is the extra 1000 deck power, and whilst Angel Feathers are a fairly underpowered deck, they still have ways around it anyway. So usually I like running stand triggers with Angel Feather because I feel like it gives them a bit more kind of offense. I feel like Angel Feather can build pretty solid back rows if they have their mind to it. And so being able to stand allows you to get extra attacks through. But for this deck, I've gone for 9 draw instead. First of all, for the Persona Blast, right? Anything that can get you more likely to pull off that Persona Blast is something that you welcome, right? And 9 draws make that a lot easier. In fact, there have been some games I've had where, because of the starter Vanguard that allows you to put an Ergodiel into your hand, and because of the draw triggers, I've basically effectively been able to pull off the Persona Blast twice a game, which is crazy. Being able to pull off a free heal, basically, twice a game is crazy. Now, of course, it does take a counterblast, but you have plenty of ways of countercharging, and honestly, not that many ways of spending the counterblast. See, Angel Feather's big gimmick for anyone that's new to this clan is the ability to put things in and out of the damage zone at will. And the cool thing is you can take out face down cards from the damage zone and put in face up cards. And that's basically what you're benefiting from the Ride Chain. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that? Yes, the Ride Chain doesn't just give you the 1000 damage, but instead For example, this grade 2 Ergodiel, if you successfully ride chain with it, you can put 2 cards from your hand into the damage zone and then add 2 cards from your damage zone to your hand. And even if there's nothing you want in the damage zone, because this would be your opportunity to place any perfect guards you accidentally damage checked into your hand, which is very useful by the way. But even if there's nothing you want in the damage zone or whatever like that, right? Like you have a, you don't really care about your hand and you don't really care about your damage zone. You can also, put cards in and then take the face down cards out so that now you're countercharging, which is crazy. That's a really good thing to have. So the counterblast is actually, it's not that big a worry basically. So yeah, so let's take a look at this deck in order now. So yes, we've gone for the Starter Vanguard, already kind of explained that. You want to get Heavenly Injector on top of it, and if you can do so, then great. And the cool thing is, even if you can't pull off its effect, you can just call it to the back row anyway. Yeah, when rode upon by a unit other than Heavenly Injector, call the card. So yeah, even if you can't successfully pull off the ride chain, it basically becomes a Forerunner, which is really cool. Then you got your 4 perfect guards. That's self-explanatory. You want your perfect guards. And in fact, with Angel Feather, they're more useful than ever because even a damage checked perfect guard is still going to help you because you can just scoop it back up again. Then you've got Heavenly Injector, who is your ride chain. So if you can ride chain her, she gets 1000 damage. But then also, if you ride chain her, she can put a card from your hand into your damage zone and a card from the damage zone into your hand. So, once again, very useful. You can scoop up the card you need. Hell, if you damage check an Ergodiel, then that can make it more likely to Persona Blast correctly, right? Like, there's a lot you can do with that. And being able to successfully utilize that is the kind of big strategy of this clan. And speaking of doing that, you've got Thousand Ray Pegasus. So, if you're running basically any Angel Feather deck at this moment in time, you're running to run 4 copies of both Pegasuses. Because they gain 2000 power just for putting cards in your damage zone. So, first of all, the grade 2 one is fantastic. And in fact, both of them are, because they gain power when your opponent attacks you, which is great. But also, you can set it off yourself by, well, putting cards into your damage zone and out of it again using Ergodiel's ride chain. So, you are basically powering yourself up. And if you're using the grade 3 Ergodiel one, which puts, or even riding the grade 3 Ergodiel on top of the grade 2 Ergodiel, you're putting 2 cards into your damage zone, which is going to power, like if you have a column that has the grade 2 Pegasus up front and the grade 1 down back, then that's going to power you up like a lot. Like that's Ezel levels of powering up, like that's ridiculous. And then we're just kind of filling things out with our vanilla. If you do want to run triple res, then this is the place I would put the grade 1 no seal if you really want it. But I think the vanilla it's fine. It gives you some consistent damage, right? So for grade 2s, we're going for Armoros. This gives you some more draw power when you successfully attack anything, not just a Vanguard, even successfully attacking a rare guard. You can counterblast to draw a card. Pretty basic stuff, right? Like I said, this deck, I feel like runs out of cards a little bit faster than most other Angel Feather builds. And so being able to just draw anything, that's enough of a reason in and of itself to run it at 4 copies, in my opinion. Then you've got Ergodiel, which is your ride chain card. Allows you to put 2 cards from your hand to your damage zone. And of course, it gets the extra 1000 damage. So that's, once again, that's a no-brainer. You're running 4 copies of it. And again, to fill out the extra space, you've got Barbiel. Once again, if you're running to run triple res and stuff, then go ahead and put no seal in there if you really, really want to. Then we've got Ergodiel. We've already been through that, right? And Ergodiel isn't actually going to be the card that's on your Vanguard when you win. See, this is limit breaks, right? And Ergodiel isn't a limit break card. Instead, Kiriel is. Kiriel is your budget limit break for Angel Feathers. So you can limit break 4, and when this unit attacks a Vanguard, it gets 5,000 damage until the end of turn, and when it's placed on your Vanguard circle, you can counterblast to call a card from your damage zone onto the field and put a card from the top of your deck into your damage zone. This is great. This is your big push forward. See, Angel Feather are a really defensive clan. You're focusing on healing yourself, you're focusing on controlling the damage zone, all that other stuff. Kiriel is your big, like, end game push forward. This game will let you push forward, and so what you want to do is you want to use the draw triggers and stuff to draw this into your hand and just kind of keep it there. Your opponent will probably think you're just kind of keeping hold of a perfect guard, and then on your last turn, when you think you're about to win, ride it on top of Ergodiel and just go for that final push. That's what I've gone for, and it's been pretty successful in the past. Then you want to go for Hermeres. And when it attacks the Vanguard, you can counterblast and put this card into your damage zone to call out a card from your damage zone. So this has a couple of useful abilities. So first of all, you can try and attack with this without boosting, and then replace it with another card so that you can boost that card and get another attack in, basically. It basically acts as a stand trigger, kind of. But also, if you're trying to play defensively, then you can try to replace it with an intercept, right? Or just, there's a lot of options there, and I think that's why you run it at 4 copies. It's also the heal trigger, because it's the one that you're not trying to get out on the Vanguard circle, and so you're not going to be keeping... See, if you get one kiriel in your hand, you kind of want to keep hold of it until the end of the game. And if you keep Ergodiel on your hand, again, you want to keep hold of it, make sure you have it, so that you can Persona Blast with it. This one, bit loosey-goosey. You can kind of, like, for example, if you get it in your starting hand, you can kind of get away with mulliganing it away, which is why I put it as the heal trigger. And then just to fill out that last spot, we've gone for Genial, because he gets 2000 whenever he attacks the Vanguard, which is very, very useful. Getting that extra power boost is pretty good. I've seen a lot of people go for Calamity Flame instead, and she's basically just a grade 3 version of the unicorns, but I like having just a consistent guaranteed 2000 each time, rather than having to rely on controlling the damage zone for the grade 3, but again, change things up as you want, and of course, just like with the no seals, if you want to run a copy of Shamsiel that you have, that would just be where I put it. So yeah, that's basically the deck. You're trying to get Ergodiel out. You're trying to control your damage zone using the right chain. You are trying to draw as many cards as possible, putting up the Pegasuses to defend and attack with, and then you're making that last turn push with Kiriel. So now we're going to get into a game with it, show it off, and we'll go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so here is our game showing off our budget Ergodiel deck. This is just a random ranked match, so I just kind of went against whoever I went against. Luckily, not a VP farmer, so we can actually show off this deck, so that's good. So our hand's actually looking pretty good. We've got a pretty good spread of grade 1s, grade 2s. In terms of mulligan priority, basically you want any card in the Ergodiel ride chain. The Pegasus is also useful. Any grade 3 that isn't the Ergodiel ride chain, you kind of want to just get rid of. But that hand is pretty good for me, so we're doing pretty well. So cool, we're doing even better. So we send out Heavenly Injector, and that allows us to use our skill, which allows us to search for an Ergodiel. So already, pretty good, pretty good example of the ride chain right there. So then I'm pretty sure I just go and just swing a hit in on them. Don't get a trigger, just get a perfect guard. That's fine. And there we go. So yeah, our hand's actually looking pretty good right now. It's already pretty beefy. Haven't actually used much from it yet, of course. But we've already got a lot set up here. We've got a lot of options that we can kind of go for in future turns, which is very, very good, where we're very much prioritizing getting out that ride chain, and we've basically got that guaranteed. So we're already in a very, very good position right here. Yes, we can afford to tank the hits because, it doesn't matter. In fact, we benefit from the hits. If I was to need that grade 2 card there, then I can just come and scoop it up in a sec. So now I send out my grade 2 Ergodiel, and this allows us to put a card into our damage zone in order to take one out. I just kind of throw a random card in there because there's nothing I particularly need there, and I think I take the Armoros. Yeah, I take the Armoros just to give me the draw power should I need it later down the line. Of course, the cool thing is when you complete the ride chain, you get to do this ability again, but with 2 cards. So if I need that Pegasus, I can always just scoop it back up later on. So I'm sending out my cards out here. I can't use our Amoros's ability yet. That needs a counterblast of 2, but I thought I'd send it out as an intercept, get an extra attack in. It, you know, not a big deal. And then we get a draw trigger. That's very good. That's beefing up our hand. And cool, we've got another Amoros anyway, so we can, you know, we can just use its skill later on if we need to. So now we're passing it off to our opponent's turn, and our opponent's already at 3 damage, we're at 1. That's very good. They're going to be sending out Golden Beast Tamer. It is quite rare to see a Pale Moon player in ranked mode actually playing, so that's something kind of cool. We're seeing Angel Feather play against a more rare deck here, so that's fairly cool. And we're just kind of seeing them play their deck. So, looking at our hand, again, our hand's pretty good. We've got some intercepts in there. We've got a Ergodiel in there. We've got a Kiriel, from the looks of things. That's pretty good. And we've got a grade 1 to kind of boost with if we need be. Again, I would say Angel Feathers, having a solid back row can make a world of difference when it comes to Angel Feathers. You really want to make sure that you can have that back row. Oh, and cool. There we go. There's our perfect guard. See, in any other deck, that would be heartbreaking right there. But in Angel Feathers, not a big deal. So we're going to send out our Ergodiel there, and we're just going to put some cards in. I decided to put in the grade 2 cards I have, and then I take that perfect guard, of course. And then I think I take the Amoros, if I'm correct. Yeah. There we go. So now we've got the draw power and the intercept, and we've also got the perfect guard, which gives us some more protection. Of course, the downside is, of course, it shows our opponent that we have the perfect guard, so they know we have it, but that's not too big a deal. So now I've got a fairly beefed up board, and if it wasn't for those draw triggers we got earlier, we'd basically be running low on cards right now, but it's not too big a problem. So do I decide to use this? Yes. See, that's the thing, you gotta kind of weigh up and decide whether or not you want to use abilities, because using that there gave me the extra draw power, which I can definitely benefit from. But of course, you know, I could have decided not to use it so that the Persona Blast would have been more useful to use later on. So I get a heal trigger here, doesn't do much for me, but you know, give the extra power anyway, and I get another heal trigger. So this is, if anything, an example of Angel Feather being a bit too useful here, I guess. But you know what, I'll take excessive heal triggers over none at all, I guess. And in fact, they're going to get a heal trigger. So as you can see, the cool thing with Angel Feathers is despite being a really defensive deck, you're actually doing a lot of damage to your opponent. They're already at 4 damage, and they already used up one of their heal triggers. So we're doing pretty good, and we've got a really solid defensive lineup here, right? Like, we've got a good hand, we've got a perfect guard, we've got an intercept, and we're only at 2 damage. So despite getting them to 4 damage, we ourselves are still doing a good job of defending, and that's why I really like the defensive decks here, because if you can do a really solid job of defending, then you can also kind of overstep your bounds and really just push forward, and that's the important part. In Vanguard 0, 10 times out of 10 basically, you want to be pushing forward as much as you can. So we're only at 3 damage here because, of course, actually we can kind of benefit from taking damage here, because that will let us send out our Kiriel and use its limit break. But for now, we're going to just hold off on it. For now, we're going to be patient. We're not going to send out the Kiriel to the rear guard. We're going to wait until it's more useful to us. And we're going to get rid of their intercept. And then we're just going to kind of swing some more attacks in on the Vanguard. So I'm pretty sure here that, yeah, I attack with the Vanguard to see whether or not I get a trigger. And I do. Another draw trigger. Another perfect guard. Great. Perfect. And that'll allow us to get another attack in on with the rear guard. See, the reason I attacked in this order is because I wanted to see whether or not it would be worth attacking their Vanguard a bunch, or if I should take out their rear guard. But the triggers basically told me, hey, you should go for the Vanguard again. So that I did. I would have been fine getting rid of the rear guard as well, but as you'll see later on in this card fight, it was actually very, very good of me to just keep going offensive. And that's an important thing to bear in mind as well, because yes, Angel Feather are a very defensive clan. You are focusing on protecting yourself and healing and all that other stuff. But that defense will never really benefit you that much if you're not trying your hardest to push forward anyway. It can be very comfortable to just kind of sit there and go, nah, I've got my perfect guards. No, I've got my intercepts. No, I can just kind of try and shut down their options. But no, I would still recommend, if you can hit the Vanguard, most times it's worthwhile to do that. Of course, not every time. There will be a lot of times where trying to get rid of their rare guards will actually benefit you more. But in this scenario, as you will see, hitting their Vanguard as much as possible actually did pan out well for me in the end. So they're getting a lot of draw triggers, which is giving them a big hand, which isn't good for us. It's giving them a lot of options, and that's also one of the reasons why I didn't prioritize getting rid of their rare guards that much, because they're just going to replace them anyway. They've obviously got stuff in their hands to replace it with, and so I'm just wasting my attacks at that point. So we're going to be sending out Kiriel here, and this is the late game push I was talking about. So we're going to use Kiriel's effect, which will allow us to take something out of our damage zone and call it to the field. So I take a second to think about this. It's important to do so, to just kind of take a second to think about what it is you're doing, what it is you're trying to go for. And I went for that other grade 3 unit because he gains power when he attacks the Vanguard, which I think being able to get those consistent hits in is good, right? So now we are just going to go straight for the Vanguard. We're just gonna, they're very close to dying. We're just gonna get some hits in. My hope was to win this turn, but as you can see here, they have a lot of perfect guards. But that's fine. We can still deal with that because we've still got our defensive options. See, we are in a bit of a dangerous place here. We probably could have been a little bit safer if we took out their rare guards here, but it's fine. We've got our perfect guards. We're okay. And in fact, that's exactly what happens here. They keep trying to attack us, and we just perfect guard them. And that seems to be enough to save us. So they are taking a sec to, I guess, weigh up their options, see what they're doing. Going to their main phase, moving their rare guard back. Both of them actually, and then sending out some cards on the field, some grade 2s, or one grade 2 even. See, they might have had a better chance of surviving if they had another grade 2 actually, because I'm just going to say it right now, they already used up 3 perfect guards, but they had another one in their hand. They had 4 perfect guards in their hand, and that's why it was important for me to go offensive. Because going offensive meant I could get rid of them rather than stalling out the game further. You really need to push forward and get rid of those perfect guards if you want to win. And a lot of games do come down to that. A lot of games do just come down to who can get rid of the other player's perfect guards fastest. And even though I had less than them, I only had 2. As you can see, I'm safe. I've won. And that's the power of this deck. If you're using it correctly, you can win easily, actually. Like, it's a really fun to play deck. I love the playstyle of getting out that ride chain, sending cards in and out your damage zone. It takes a lot of strategy to actually choose what the best things to take out your damage zone at the best time can be. And you still, because of Kiriel, you get that offensive push, you get that limit break, and it's gonna cause you to win. So I'll see you later with some more Vanguard 0, and I get a hero trigger just to rub salt in the wound further. I'll see you later with some more Vanguard 0, let me know what you thought of this deck. And I'll see you later, maybe with the Shamsiel deck or something else. So yeah, see you later with some more Vanguard 0.